Hello everyone, welcome to eGATE.ai. In this lecture, we will understand various database architecture. So just to quick start, what is this architecture? It's a basically structural framework, right? Structural framework, which helps us design database applications. And as per our requirement, we can design what kind of database architecture we can have. There are three very much common architectures which we are going to study here, and those are based on how many tiers are involved. So basically first one is 1 tier, second one is 2 tier, okay, and third one is 3 tier, right? Now what is 1 tier architecture? So in 1 tier architecture, what is done is that this database is directly given to the user. So user can directly query and use this database. Okay, so there is just 1 tier involved, which is this database tier itself, right? And if you recall the last lecture, this can be mostly useful for sophisticated users, right, who are expert users who can directly query from the database, right? So as per the demand, we can create 1 tier architecture. 2 tier architecture is similarly fairly simple, that we have a user, okay, and user is directly interacting with the database, right? So let's say this is a simple browser application, right? And from the browser itself you are accessing the data, right, from the database. So this is 2 tier architecture. And the third one is most common architecture, and I discussed this little bit in the last lecture as well, whereas we have a browser, that is user. Browser is interacting with web application right down the layer. So this is basically application server, I should say, not web application, sorry. And then application server is connecting to the database for data whenever required. Okay, so this is 3-tier architecture. This is user or browser, this is web server or app server, where all the business logic is hosted, and then this is DB, database server, right? So this is 3-tier architecture. Now there are some advanced concepts which we must know as a database engineer. The first one is data distribution. Now data distribution is basically distributed systems where data is distributed into multiple servers. And nowadays this concept is really useful because there are countries who are coming up with the laws that the data from their country or the data for the users of that country should only be stored in that region or that country. So for instance, in Europe, you have GDPR law, and a lot of countries are coming up with their data privacy laws. So this forces database engineers to design a system where data can be distributed at different location for a single application. So this is data distribution. We also have something like cloud database. So cloud database is like, for instance, Amazon AWS Aurora, which is like serverless database. So these are the modern database architectures which are very recent and which are really good in order to fulfill the modern requirements. But for our scope, this is something we should know. So this is simple a concept of database architecture. I hope you have understood it. If you have any question, please feel free to ask and I'll be happy to answer. So see you in the next lecture, where we have decided to quickly go through the summary of the entire introduction chapter.